Well, you're very welcome. Boy, howdy. It is Tuesday evening and we are stateside. And to the fine state of Wisconsin, the Badger State, known for that 70s show and the Great Lakes that surround it, amongst other things. But we, of course, are in Wisconsin for one very specific reason this Tuesday night. And we are in the town of Plymouth, Wisconsin, specifically Road America, for the first round of the I was going to say Gantry TV IndyCar. I'm giving us too much credit here. The RTA Virtual Motorsport IndyCar Championship, sponsored by motorsport.ie. And you will find this is the first of very many little North American touches we've made right throughout this season. So as I said, we are in Road America. This is an IMSA staple, an IndyCar staple, and no better place to start this first round of this 8-track championship here. So Road America, we have just over 4 miles in old money, or in new money if you're still a stateside. 14 turns with a late race lap record of 141.8 set by Alex Zanardi, the Zanardi family fame in 1998. So that is in the car championship. We are in the IndyCar championship, of course, and racing the famous Dallara machine, which has been kind of on the iRacing service for the last number of years. And what's a brand new iRacing update to this car, which only came out last week, so we are a week late, but we're delighted to be here at Road America, as I said, for the opening round of the RTA Virtual Motorsport IndyCar Championship, presented by Gantry TV. Track temperature 41 degrees at the moment. It's 20 degrees outside, partly cloudy, 16% humidity, with a slight 3-kilometer breeze. My name is Kevin Galvin. I'm joined as always by Evan Dalton. And Evan, this series is a little bit different. We have some cracking races lined up, but I know you and I both are particularly excited for the ovals.
Yes, hello Kevin, hello everybody. It's a pleasure to be back, even if we are a week late. It is the RTA IndyCar series, as you were saying, and yes, we have ovals. Not tonight, but coming up. We have a lot of different factors this season that we're going to be speaking to you about throughout this evening. But what season we are in for in terms of those ovals, of course, we will be going to the big one, the Brickyard at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, not directly after our trip here in Road America. We'll stop in Watkins Glen beforehand. Then we go to the Daytona Roval, which is, of course, not a real IndyCar track, but certainly one of interest here. Then we have Mid-Ohio, Long Beach, back to Daytona for the actual oval. Again, not an IndyCar track, but certainly will be interesting. And then the infamous Barber Motorsports Park, that you can see on your screen now, on the 5th of August. What a circuit we are at tonight, of course. Road America, located in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and near the famous, is it famous? Might be famous for some people, Wisconsin Highway. It has hosted many an IndyCar race. It is known for its IndyCar, and it always provides a fabulous race. Became famous in the late 1940s for when road racing became popular at the Sports Car Club of America, organised here in Elkhart Lake, and its first official sanctioned race came 11 years later in 1955. It is officially recognised at 14 corners, but it has a whole lot more, and the original circuit cost was only $175,000, which is not a lot compared to your modern racing facilities. In terms of the Indy cars tonight, we have a lot of differing factors, as we said, and a lot of new things, including 2 different compounds of tyres, which is something that we haven't had as long as I've been in RTA. We have the alternates and the primaries. We have push to pass available in the race, and of course once we get to the ovals we will have the weight jackers in play, but that is not an issue we're going to discuss tonight. 2.2 litre twin turbocharged V6s, we have a lot of them out on track here in Road America. It's going to be a very interesting evening.
Yeah, and we have a whole set of new liveries which you're going to have to get used to, and a whole set of new drivers as well on the timing tables. You see some familiar faces, but some new names as well, which no doubt we'll get to know over the course of the coming season. And finally, you mentioned the original price tag for Road America. It's one of the only very few road circuits in the world that maintains its original configuration. So you're racing the same configuration of track that there was in 1955. And Evan, you really get a sense of that around here. These tracks are massively quick, really tight, and have the potential to kill you at every available moment.
Yeah, it's known as America's National Park of Speed, and it is known as that for a reason. It is ferociously quick, especially in that final sector where we saw a couple of the drivers, including Brian McCarthy, coming through now. And the walls are very close, and if you hit them, it will hurt. Joseph Newgarden found that out the hard way back here in an IndyCar 2 seasons ago in qualifying when he slapped into a wall at the Canada corner, or sorry, at the kink I should say, ferociously. I'm sure we will see one or two go off there tonight. But qualifying is underway, and big talking point of this qualifying is those tyres. As I mentioned, we have the alternates and we have the primaries. If you are a big Formula 1 fan and you're not into your IndyCar, the alternates are the softs, the primaries are the hards pretty much, but in IndyCar terms they're known as the reds and the blacks. So you will see the red wall tyres on board now. The interesting thing about these tyres is they only last about 2 laps, 3 laps on a good day. Meaning we're going to see pit stops here in qualifying. We're going to see push laps and cool laps, which is very different compared to what we had last season in the British Touring Car.
Yeah, massively different. And also, it really makes you wonder, are those alternates really going to be used at any point throughout the actual racing itself? I mean, even with a 10-minute race, you would think that potentially in some tracks it might allow for it, but in most places you're only getting 5 or 6 minutes out of 2 laps, so we'll have to wait and see. A man who knows an awful lot about going off in different places, and particularly he might know a thing or two about kinks. That's for him to know and for me not to know. But Peter McCann is our driver who has graciously sacrificed himself to show us around this Road America track, so don't expect it to be as quick as we can expect. I might have another second or two to get an opportunity to describe this Road America track with to you, but Peter McCann gives us a bit of a look around at what we can expect from Road America. So come down the Road America straight. Americans do love naming things like turn 1. This technically over the hill is counted as turn 2, although not really a problem for us to head out towards turn 3. It's a lane apex, you get right out on the left hand side to open up the moraine sweep, which goes all the way down under the Sargento Cheese bridge, which I think is really one of the landmarks of this track. It's certainly the first thing I remember about racing here is seeing the big cheese wheel as we head down towards turns 5 and 6. Really quite kind of comes back in itself as turn 5. And then 6 is go up and over the first real opportunity for the car to get right there and spin it out quite easily. Turn 7 is pretty much flat out using the cars to head down towards the hurry downs. Similar type of corner to turn number 5 with a big extra on the outside, but a little bit easier despite the fact that it's downhill really being quite as heavy. Now this is carousel, turn 9 and turn 10, as you see past there. It's a real lesson in patience. Down towards the belt and pink go wide here at your turn. You can smack across the track and the barrel on the right hand side. We head down towards the corner, probably the most famous corner on this track. It really has to get in earlier than you think. There's a lot of runoff on the outside, so you're kind of cutting across it up over Thunder Valley in the Bill Mitchell bend and around turn 14, trying to get as best of along as you see back across the line down the straight, a very long main straight. 2 or 3 really, Evan, big straights on this track. So in terms of the wing setup, it'll be interesting to see whether drivers opt for maybe a slightly lower downforce setup, given the fact that there's such an emphasis on straight line speed here.
There is such an emphasis on straight line speed, and you bring up an interesting point about some of the straights having corner numbers. A bit of a Road America fun fact for you: they haven't named the corners after corners, they've named them after the working marshal stations. So for some reason they put one in the middle of the straight between turn number 1 and turn number 3, and then just left the rest of them as normal. I don't know. God bless America.
There's a turn number 4 as well, is just not.
Oh yeah, sorry, there's 2. There's turn number 4 as well, which is
not a turn.
It's not even the middle of the straight, which annoys me. At least if they did it in the middle of the straight, that would be something. But qualifying so far, we're 6 minutes and 20 seconds in, and you can see those who are struggling. We only have 12 times on the board, and the quickest is Dylan McClements ahead of Ronan Doherty in second. Ronan, very quick in practice, was second on the primary tyres, not on the alternates, when everyone else did push laps on the alternate tyres. Brandon McCaughan is in third, and what a fabulous livery Brandon McCaughan is running. You might recognise that one as the Newman Haas that Nigel Mansell won the 1993 championship Championship in when he beat Mario Andretti to the title, and then those two were at loggerheads next season, and he left and went back to Formula One. Very interesting story that you should read if you get a chance to do so. Brandon McCaughan in fourth, Simon Hutchings then in fifth, of course, our recent B Series champion. He's the only defending champion, I should say, on the grid this season with no Oscar Mangan, and Simon is quite on the pace as of now.
Yeah, great to see Simon right up there. He's really taken confidence from that B Championship win in the touring cars, and despite this being a completely different type of machine, certainly representing the Welsh Dragon with pride once again is the 37 car. I'm going to have to lean big time on your IndyCar expertise. I'm looking forward to the nuggets that you bring us over the next 8 weeks, Evan, because really my IndyCar knowledge is next to none, apart from some of the current drivers I would know of and maybe some of the teams that they drive for. But other than that, my IndyCar knowledge is extremely limited. It's particularly historic IndyCar knowledge, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what you can dig out over the next couple of weeks about the tracks that we come and visit. In terms of those tracks, of the 8, obviously the oval at the Brickyard is the big one, but the other tracks, what are some of the other tracks you think that people should be really looking out for in terms of tracks that could potentially bring really exciting racing over the next course in next couple of months?
If you're sat at home and you don't watch IndyCar on the regular, the one track you're not looking forward to is Barber Motorsports Park. And I'm going to be here and I'm going to say the total opposite. That should be one of the biggest ones you're looking forward to, because that's a brilliant track in IndyCars. Maybe if you raced an F3 or an F4 car around there, you'd get a terrible race. I know Indy Lights is never, or what's it called now? Indy Next is never usually a great race around there. But for some reason, with this Dallara IR18 and Barber Motorsports Park, it is a match made in heaven. It's a great race, a brilliant racetrack for battling and for overtaking. There's one big overtaking zone, you would think initially, but that leads into 2, 3, 4 more. It's a great track and you should look forward to, but I cannot state enough how excited I am for the RTA Indianapolis 10 minutes, or whatever we'll call it when we get there, because seeing these guys get out of their comfort zone on an oval when they go down the straight and their steering wheel is almost fully locked to the right, I can't wait for it. It's going to be a shock for some of them, but I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it? These it's a real sandbox. We're so lucky that we have the opportunity to just give races like this a bash, give guys a step out of their comfort zone. And you talk to a lot of the American drivers, and we're extremely fortunate in Wildfire in that we were founded by American guys, and they're still very much involved in the team. But their experience in racing ovals, like I could be driving down the Mulsanne Straight at Le Mans, and there could be 5 or 6 cars all bunched up, and my heart is going 90, and it feels really busy. And those guys drive it as if it's like a total breeze, because they're so used to racing in close proximity. That's really going to be something that a lot of these guys, I think particularly the B Series drivers, are going to have to get used to very quickly. That idea of not having a huge amount of track to yourself. You really have to be, not only do you obviously have to be good at collision avoidance and all that sort of stuff that goes on, but just in terms of your own, like, understanding where your car is in relation to everybody else on track, that you don't, all of a sudden peel into the pit lane and clean out 2 or 3 people, or you think that you can run up to the wall when actually there's somebody on your outside. Like, the spotter really comes into its own here.
It does, and on the contrary to that, sometimes you can get drivers who may not be as good on road courses absolutely fly on ovals. In terms of real IndyCar, if you watch the Indy 500, you may think Santino Ferrucci or Conor Daly are the 2 greatest drivers ever, because they're always running at the front of the Indy 500. When in reality, fairly bog standard when it comes to road courses. We could get a little bit of that here, where drivers like Dylan McClements, Jordan Kelly, Ronan Doherty, Sean McClements, Brandon McCaughan and all don't have major oval experience. I know for a fact one driver who does have a lot of IndyCar experience is Sean McGoldrick. He started racing on IndyCar Racing 2 back in 1996. Is how he started sim racing. He has lived his sim racing career racing IndyCars. So he's going to be a force to be reckoned with on ovals. And we're going to get a little bit of that. Not tonight, though, because as we can see, top 3 are fairly regular names, with Dylan McClellan still topping the order with 3 minutes to go in qualifying.
And I know I'm going to be wrong in saying this, but was Cart the former IndyCar, or because as I said, my knowledge of this is terrible.
I won't lie, I get confused by this as well. But as far as I know, yes, Cart is IndyCar, and then IRL was the Indy Racing League, I think. But it was an absolute nightmare. It was an absolute mess, and thank God we don't have that split anymore. But as far as I know, Cart was IndyCar, because I know the way I'm going to debunk this one here is Zanardi's lap record here is in Cart, and IRL never raced at Cart tracks, and Cart is now IndyCar, so it's a mess in all honesty.
For you. So obviously, as we said, we'll be moving to the ovals, but at the moment we're at Road America, which is a track that a lot of these, you would say, in quotations, traditionally strong drivers in this championship know exceptionally well and have a lot of experience. So not surprising to see the likes of Dylan McClements, Jordan Kelly, Ronan Doherty, Brandon McGahan, and indeed Sean McGoldrick up the top, along with the rest of them. But we do see some new names. Evan, do you know much about some of the new drivers that we have joining us? Obviously, like Ken Doyle, David Jabruszewski, I think. I don't want to pronounce that incorrectly. I'm sure David can send us on a pronunciation guide, but it's great to see different nationalities, as David here is Polish. I think Ken Doyle is another name, obviously, who, as far as my limited knowledge goes, I do think that Ken is known around Mondello, but not racing in this championship.
Ken has done a few seasons here in RTA, as far as I know, and David Dlugoceki is my best efforts at it. I know I've got the first name nailed because I know David, and that was definitely a help here. He is a known sim racer in some sim racing communities, races for Speed Eagles Racing. You'll see that name pop up from time to time. Mostly races on Assetto Corsa, but making the jump over to Indy cars here on iRacing. We have Johnny Reed as well, who is a new driver and actually was performing high in qualifying, currently in 12th position. Johnny is a Northern Irish videographer. You might recognise his name from, I think he made a TikTok or a reel from Ronan Doherty's Once Upon a Time it's the trophy win. Johnny made that video and is quite handy here in an IndyCar. And I want to say I foreshadowed what we're seeing on our screen, but Sean McGoldrick has just gone top by 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, Sean now really getting to grips with this. Just a bit on Speed Eagles, Polish racing team. So obviously great scenes for the country this weekend. And indeed, I think that's kind of, as somebody said in our Discord, it was the good ending that Robert Kubica finally got over the line to win Le Mans after all of his trials and tribulations. But Speed Eagles competing in iRacing, Le Mans Ultimate, and Richard Burns Rally. So a very eclectic mix of racing from Speed Eagles. So good to see them. Hopefully we won't see too much rallying from David over the next couple of weeks, but he is 11th at the moment. The Sean McGoldrick, as you say, Evan, he's already put his flag in the ground. He's made his American stake on his territory, and he's clocked the fastest time.
Yes, Sean McGoldrick on pole position here for the season opener in the IndyCars. Last time he scored a podium in RTA was back in the Formula V's, so he'd love to take one here, but that's still a long way to go. Dylan McClements in second, and it's Jordan Kelly in third. Ronan Doherty in fourth, Brandon McGahan in fifth, and it is Conor Amelia in sixth. He loves Road America, so keep an eye on him. Peter McCann in seventh, Dara Halley in eighth, then it is Simon Hutchings, Ken Doyle, David Dlugoceki, then it is Johnny Reed, Sean McClements, Diarmuid Toomey, Finlay Melvin, Tony Stack, Andrew Murphy, David Ward, then it is the Dempseys, Emma Dempsey and Danny Dempsey rounding out the top 20. Then it is David Prunty, Gary Corcoran, Jamal Gandor, Phil Upson, Brian McCarthy and Oliver Meredith down in 26th position. This is going to be very exciting, and I tell you what, the tyre choice, I thought it was going to be all the primaries. It's very split going by the timing screens as of now.
Yeah, and judging by what you say, Evan, they're only going to get a couple of laps out of this, so it'll be a case of trying to make up as much time as they possibly can.
Oh, and of course, sorry, it's a rolling start, so we have a formation lap as well.
Oh, well, that'll give us a bit more time to talk about some of the other issues we're talking about in the course of this season. Glad to be back stateside. Glad to be running in this championship. We've gone all in on the United States-ism, the Star Spangled Banner, for a lot of our graphics this season. And let's use one of those graphics, which isn't Star Spangled in this case, to tell you about what you can expect this evening. If you haven't joined us yet, we have a 3-race, well, it's not the BTCC Championship, it's the IndyCar Championship, but that needs to be updated. Race 1 is a 10-minute race with the grid set by qualifying that you just saw. Then race 2 is a 15-minute affair with the grid set by race 1 before race 3, our feature race, sees the top 8 reversed. 9 down to the bottom, continue where they are, and we go at it once again for 20 minutes. We don't go at it very often, but when we go at it, we do it hard. And it'll be a drive-through at 15x and a disqualification at 20x, which you would hope doesn't come into play, but oftentimes it does tend to have a bearing over the course of the races.
Another thing about IndyCar is they usually say a prayer before the races. So, Kevin, would you like to oblige?
Dear, see, I'm afraid I'm going to offend somebody now if I go down this line. But dear God, keep all of our drivers sane, and let's hope that nobody rage quits over the next half an hour. Thank you, David.
I think that one's already done. I believe Sean Clemens is on his headset's not working, so we haven't done well on that regard. But
in quotations.
Touche, Mr. Galvin. Liveries, we usually wait to start, but I want to point out another one. Sean McGoldrick, fantastic livery, known amongst the IndyCar community as the Yellow Submarine, most recently ran by Scott McLaughlin in the 2025 Indy 500. However, he didn't make the start line. He crashed on the warm-up laps, so Sean's rather slow pace probably explained due to the bad voodoo that livery holds. McLaughlin, of course, number 2. Sean McGoldrick, number 27. McLaughlin, McGoldrick, close enough.
Yeah, I mean, look, similar levels of talent as well, I think, if you're being very kind.
Now, Scott McLaughlin is a multi-time supercar champion, as far as I know.
I'm talking about Sean McGoldrick being kind. Actually was. I genuinely know who Scotty McLaughlin is. She's V8 Supercar Championship multiple times. Michelle, I know my V8.
I was agreeing with you. I was pointing out Scott McLaughlin's championships.
Well, yeah, some really good different sort of liveries. There's a Guinness livery down the line there. I don't know who that belongs to. And my favourite is always that. Oh, we have a spinner already. In the warm-up lap. Emma Dempsey. Oh, Emma. Can she blame Jamal for this one? We will have to wait and see what the chat has to say. Don't do that, Emma. That makes it worse. Oh, she comes back out with her nose intact. Fair play, but the rear wing is gone. I don't know if we can see that again, whether that was Emma's or indeed somebody else's issue. As we get to show off our brand new replay sting for the first time. Here you go. Landed a free and home of the Brave. Let's have a look. Oh, I was already off at this point. She must have been tapped by. I'm trying to see who's. I can't. I don't know where to look for car eye on the nose. So she spins around there. It's the 80. Is it the A64 car? Is behind her.
It wasn't Jamal, anyways, because you'll all know Jamal's livery when you see it in a few moments' time. But that's not a good start of the season for Emma Dempsey. It's just ironic. We were talking about formation lap crashes as well, but very disappointing for Emma. She'll be looking for better in race 2.
Yeah, well, she can't do much worse, in fairness, so she's going to have to hope that race 2 gets a little bit better. Definitely plenty of new faces on this grid, so it'll be interesting to see how they all shake up with the old reliables, but they're certainly dominating the grid at the moment. But as I was saying before Emma came around, that M&M's livery, you see it in NASCAR and you see it in IndyCar. You know, like obviously these liveries are aimed to advertise the product in which they're shown, and every time I look at it I'm like, oh, I could really do with a bag of M&M's. So definitely manages to be successful in that case as we get ready to go racing for the first time stateside here at Road America.
Pace car pulls in, Sean McGoldrick puts the foot to the floor, and we go racing in IndyCars for the first time in RTA. Dylan McClemens has got a great jump and is already going to look to try and get past Sean McGoldrick. A couple down the order already. Not utilising the push to pass button. You're not allowed to use that in the first lap unless you're a Penske. Sean McGoldrick does lead for the first corner. Ronan Doherty already getting past Jordan Kelly. You can see in the very bright yellow, pink and purple livery, he's up to third place.
The only man who could get a subtle dig in real life whilst also commentating on a race start. Fair play to you, Evan. I thought I saw a wing going off there in the background, but I think my eyes may be deceiving me. Good start from Sean McGoldrick and fairly ordered up and down the field. Jordan Kelly's down one from Ronan Doherty as that battle continues. As I say, Simon Hutchings is going to try and move, but Johnny Reid's going to take him. And our new boy David is down 2 places to 13th. But all in all, fairly straightforward as that Doherty Dylan McClemens battle rages on.
Yes, battle rages on. Interesting enough, Jordan Kelly opting for the primary compound of tyres. The rest of the top 8 all on the alternate. So Kelly is going to struggle to get those up to temp. And you can see he's under pressure from Brandon McCaughan right behind in the Nigel Mansell livery. Our own Nigel Mansell is in 6th. Conor Amelia defending, or sorry, I should say well ahead of Peter McCann at this point. Look at Ronan Doherty all over the back of Dylan McClemens as they fly down towards the Canada corner. And he's going to look for the inside line here. Easily has it. Slipstream or what? Ronan Doherty flying in front and gets ahead. Big dive from Brandon McCaughan on Jordan Kelly. He has the grip on Kelly. Kelly runs wide, might lose the spot to Conor Amelia here as well. Amelia going to try and flick it round the outside. No. Bit too ambitious. Bit too ambitious for the first lap of a season. That's a big crash for a first lap of the season. Jordan Kelly went for the alternate strategy. Sean McClemens has got clipped in that one as well. Big damage.
Oh, that's a big mistake from Jordan Kelly. Just way too aggressive over the curbs. And himself, both Sean McClemens and Diarmuid Toomey being caught up in that. Jordan now down 17 places. Conor Amelia obviously was involved in that incident immediately. He's down 13 places. But Jordan just going right over the top of the curb and completely washing the car out. No chance at that point of saving it and goes right across. And unfortunately for Conor Amelia, he's just collected in it. There's nothing he could do about it for a former championship winner in 2025. Is Conor. So unfortunately for him, not a great start to his season, but really no fault of his own. That's all on Jordan Kelly, it looked like to me.
Andrew Murphy diving down the inside of David Ward here. Simon Hutchings has got past Johnny Reid. Simon burning through the push to pass fairly early on, as is Sean McGoldrick. And you can see Brian McCarthy side by side there with David Ward and Danny Dempsey as well. Great start for great start for 2 of our young carters, I should say. Oliver Meredith up 11 positions now to 15 positions. So great start there for Ollie. And we take our attention towards the front once again. It's Johnny Reid, Simon Hutchings and Finlay Melvin all battling away. Here comes Ronan Doherty going for the outside in towards the Canada corner. Had the inside on Dylan McClemens, and you can see McGoldrick looking to keep the nose in here, but Ronan Doherty sweeps around the outside, leads in Road America. Had to burn a little bit of push to pass there to get past, but still has 178 seconds for what is only 7 minutes left, so plenty of time to make something work. Sean McGoldrick has got to try and get the run down towards turn number 1 again. It's a freeway fight, and what's a slipstream fest here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, you can see already the gravel being thrown up there and being caught up in the tyres on that last lap, but of course enough, last corner should I say, but of course enough time for them to burn that off. And it's a real pity for Jordan Kelly, because I think he was playing the long game, and a pity for the course of this race, because it would have been very interesting to see whether Jordan could indeed get back over the course of the evening, the first race should I say, just to see how the primary versus alternate strategy works out over a 10-minute race as we move forward in this season. His side Donegal got a very lucky escape last week against Mayo in the football championship, but unfortunately for Kelly himself, he didn't have the same.
No, he didn't, unless he can grab a last minute point or two here in this race. Johnny Reid is going to get past Simon Hutchings, it seems, down towards turn number 5 of the Moraine Sweep very early on the brakes for Simon Hutchings, and Finlay Melvin almost ran straight into the back of him. Wouldn't be known for his early braking, would Finlay Melvin be, and running the Monster Energy livery. He's looking to try and muscle his way past Simon Hutchings. Andrew Murphy is running quite well, up 6 positions, as is a lot of the field, up 6 positions. Melvin, Stack, Murphy, Ward, all up 6. Ollie Meredith, still your biggest gainer, up 13. So cracking job from the young man there. Almost halfway through this one already. We're only 3 laps in. Sean McGoldrick still well within his rights. of a race win at the front here, only 0.3 of a second behind Ronan Doherty, and that slipstream run through this second part of the track is very crucial here. It could be a case of whoever's second on the last lap will take it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be exceptionally strong in that part of the track in particular for whatever reason. We'll have to have a look here from the gearbox of Ronan Doherty to see how much that slipstream makes a difference here. You can start to see Sean McGoldrick pulling in the tenths and thousands of seconds. A shout as well for Johnny Reid, not just good behind the camera, he's up 5 places to 7th in the 412 car, so he's absolutely flying it. But unfortunately for Sean McGoldrick, the yellow submarine, he I wouldn't say he's sinking, but he's certainly trying to tread water at the moment in between both Team DDR cars.
Yeah, Dylan McClements putting him under a lot of pressure, or where was, I should say, but McGoldrick is ahead. Dylan McClements is playing this race exactly like he plays most of his seasons. Conservative but efficient. Look at those push-to-pass numbers. 1.37 seconds left for Doherty, 1.15 for Sean McGoldrick, 1.69 for Dylan McClements. The only thing is Dylan does actually have to start using it because you are limited on how much you're allowed to use it. You're allowed it in 20-second intervals. We're not going to have enough intervals left in the race for Dylan to use all of that if he doesn't start getting on the button quickly. Oliver Meredith ahead of Simon Hutchings. They're side by side here into the left-hander. Meredith breaks very late indeed. And Ollie Meredith, oh, big slide. Little bit of contact between the two. I think a front wing is chipped on Hutchings. No, not just chipped, totally gone. And that is very unfortunate for the B-Series winner in the touring cars.
Yeah, really unfortunate. There he goes off, Simon. He just has absolutely no front aero whatsoever. The car washing out completely at the front and can't get any sort of braking bite because obviously these cars. Oh, that's a big mistake. That's a mistake from McGoldrick going off at Canada corner at the exit, just completely going straight through. And Dylan McClements pops into second position. Now McGoldrick is back on the push to pass. Now Dylan getting on the push to pass himself, because it was going to be something I was going to bring up about that push to pass. There's so many different limitations and regulations, and of course, you know, it took us, many of us, long enough to get our heads around ERS and DRS and all of the different things in Formula One. It'd be interesting to see how many of these guys understand how the deployment of DRS, or sorry, the push to pass works. And I was just about to say that Sean McGoldrick, at least in that sense, he understands the regulations, he understands the racing better. He might be able to use that push to pass in a better area later on when Dylan hasn't used it yet. But obviously that's kind of rendered a moot point now, given that Dylan is now 2.4 seconds down the road. It's going to take an awful lot of push to pass to try and make that gap up, especially when Dylan has almost 130 seconds left. So he might as well start using it now, Evan.
Yeah, although I've been harping on about the push-to-pass conversation will be really interesting in race 3 when we've more time, as David Ward dives down the inside of Tony Stack, and he's ahead and into 10th place and into the top 10 on his RTA debut, which is not too shabby. Was he into the top 10? No, not anymore. Down to 11th. Great start, Evan, on the L commentators' curses, as David will be pushing for a 10th position. Still 0.5 of a second separates the two Team DDR cars at the front of this one, and although last season was better for Ronan Doherty in terms of the race wins, Dylan didn't pick one up on the board and actually hasn't won a race since he was crowned back in the LMP2. So a bit of work to do for Dylan McClements if he would like to race winner once again. Will happen heading on to the last lap here in Road America.
Yeah, it's just coming back there to you were saying that Sean McClements had some sort of headphone issue. Good to see that Sean decided to race nonetheless. So he's up 1 place to P12. Thanks to everyone on the YouTube comments as well. Johnny Hollywood joining us from the night shift. And Johnny also says, don't forget Champ Car, but I think that's a whole other kind of worms that we're not really in a position to open with a minute left in this opening race. And also JC303 saying, go on Wardy, and a lot of fans, mistake for Doherty, and that opens the door now for Dylan McClements. Sorry, Evan, but we're going to head down to this turn 4, I think, and this could be very interesting. Latest on the brakes down the hill.
Yeah, big slide for Doherty, exiting the corner, and Dylan McClements is going to try going a long way about it. That's a very difficult move to pull off. And as they head into the left-hander side by side, who's going to come out on top? Ronan Doherty. Dylan just didn't have the room. He's going to have to slipstream down towards the Canada corner, though. This one not over just yet.
No, absolutely. Dylan has slightly more push to pass, but I think, as you say, it's limited by the time anyway, so it's not going to have that much more of an opportunity to use it. We shall see now. This is a great opportunity. Good on board here from Ronan Hederman, who does superb work as always in the background. Wanted to give him his regular shout as we go down through the kink. And Dylan, let's just see how much time he can make up on Ronan Darty, both of them using that extra power boost. And it looks like Ronan has just about survived, but Sean McGoldrick in the background with Brandon McGahan. Sean almost being caught by McGahan, and banging of wheels there between the two of them, and the Yellow Submarine going into battle, and he's gone sideways, both of them, and that opens the door now for Brandon McGahan, Ken Doyle, Johnny Reid, and all the rest, all the rest to pass through as Ronan Darty crosses the line and takes our opening race here. Sorry, Evan, to steal your thunder. I wasn't expecting quite the level of carnage there between those two, but a very unfortunate end to both Sean McGoldrick and Brandon McGahan's week. But look at this, Peter McCann finishing P3. A superb drive from McCann up 4 places.
Yeah, didn't get his podium in the season finale. He's got one in the season opener this time round. It's a miracle that Sean and Brandon have finished 5th and 7th, given the state they were in. But iRacing Physics seems to have helped them out here a little bit. Darty takes the race win, off to a race-winning start once again. Dylan McClemens in 2nd, Peter McCann then, of course, as we said, in 3rd. Great result for Ken Doyle in 4th. Barely touched that push to pass, 103 seconds left. As here are 2 of the drivers involved in our opening lap incident, Conor Melia and Jordan Kelly. That's not how they would have wanted to start this. Conor especially, we know how much he loves this circuit here in Road America and these Indy cars. Definitely would have been looking at top results tonight. 16th is not where he wants to be.
Yeah, very disappointing one for Conor, but look, like this, the way that's racing. Unfortunately, it's you know, with all the best will in the world, you can do all the practice, you can do everything else, and then all of a sudden something happens in front of you, and there's not much you can do about it. So, look, when it comes to these races, at least you can't fault your own effort. You can only do the best you can. And unfortunately, for Conor, it was just a bit of a disappointing one. Ollie Meredith must have been caught up in some instances as well. He's gone off the track there late. I don't know, did he shoot his tyres? Oh, and Ali doing his best Alex Albon impression there by vaulting himself over the grass, pontooning himself into the barrier, and a very sad and sorry end to the 95's journey, who was up a number of places. I think Ali was up 12 or 13 at one point. Must have been caught up, and he finishes with a very asymmetrical Dallara I-18 by the end. The front left part of the wing is gone, the front right is still attached. Thankfully for him, there are absolutely no repairs required. He gets a brand new machine as we start the second race. Let's see.
Yeah, brand new car for the 15-minute heat too, but Ronan Darty, your winner in heat number 1. Then it was Dylan McClemens, Peter McCann, Ken Doyle, Sean McGoldrick, Johnny Reid, Brandon McCauley, Finlay Melvin, Andrew Murphy and Tony Stark. Then it was David Wardy, Sean McClemens, Danny Dempsey, Phil Upson, Emma Dempsey. Then it was Conor Melia, Jordan Kelly, David Prunty, Brian McCarthy and David Delugocecki, we'll get it eventually, in 21st position. Then it was Simon Hutchings, Ollie Meredith, Jamal Gandor, Taylor Toomey, Darragh Halley and Gary Corcoran to round us out in 26th spot. Very interesting opening race, Kevin. We have another warm-up lap to debunk that. Not as chaotic maybe as I expected, but still that nice little dabble of opening round madness mixed in between.
Yeah, 100%. As you say, look, it's one of those, we always talk about the consistency in this championship, and unfortunately for Jordan and Colin now they're on the back foot immediately in the championship, and that's not the way you want to start a championship, despite the fact that we do have other races to go. I had a quick look while we're waiting for the cars to begin their formation lap. Derluga-Kinski, I think. Is how you pronounce it, because I believe David shares his name with a singer-songwriter based in Southampton, so I have looked up that pronunciation, but if that's wrong, then David, please do feel free to get in touch. But Derluga-Kinski, which I think I'm going to stick with that. That runs relatively well off my untrained tongue, so
we're going to just have to text him, aren't we?
Yeah, if anybody has his number, feel free to get in touch.
Sound boys, appreciate it, because this is a nightmare.
Ronan and Dylan up the top, Peter McCann behind. It's a lot of the regulars, but then behind them you've the likes of Ken, who is more of a regular than I thought, being totally honest with you, and then Johnny Reid behind him. So there's definitely a lot of new names that will be looking at this race as an opportunity to try and maybe break their way into the upper echelons of the championship.
Time to talk strategy again, while it's still a new thing, and we actually have some going for the alternates in this race. Peter McCann, David Ward, Emma Dempsey, David Prunty, and Ollie Meredith, all going for the alternate softer tyre. I'm very surprised at that, but of course we don't get a lot of laps here at Road America, so that might be due to that. We're only going to get maybe 2 more laps in this race, 2-3 more laps compared to last heat. Usually you could get 4 or 5 more. So interesting to see they've gone for that. The rest of the grid is on the primaries. So expect a very fast start from Peter McCann here, because he'll have those tyres nice and toasty very quickly, while the others will have 2, 3, 4 slow corners until those tyres properly get up to temp.
Yeah, but I suppose the layout of Road America, unless you're side by side with somebody with the alternates, like there isn't a huge amount of passing opportunities really in the first couple of corners. Like it's pretty much very tight. The whole track is tight, of course, but you know, the likes of Canada Corner, you might have an opportunity to slip up the inside if you get a bit of slipstream, or maybe down into turn 4, I'm going to say. No, sorry, turn 5, even though it should be turn 4, because there's a non-existent turn 4.
Turn 3, realistically.
Yeah, probably should be turn 3, yeah, pretty much, at the bottom of the Marine Sweep. Those are passing opportunities. Turns 1 and 3, it should be 2. Anyway, I'll just call them by their actual numbers. Turns 1 and 3 are, they're especially right at the beginning of a race, you're kind of side by side. You're not getting an opportunity really to go at it. There's a replay here. Simon Hutchings we're having a look at now. Oh, is this another accident on formation lap? Oh, Simon, he's pulling up and slowing down, and pulling up and slowing down, and yeah, bonk.
Oh no, lads.
Oh dear, that's the 19 car that slammed on the brakes. That's the
Brian
MM's. That's Brian McCarthy. I think Jamal Gandor was involved in that, the 961. He's now pulled off and has gone into the pits. So there's a bit of weaving. This is from Ronan in front. We're going back to live pictures, I think, as Ronan Doherty in the 15 leads them towards the front. But yeah, this formation lap again at the B Championship, it's another thing that these drivers probably aren't that used to, a full formation lap. And it's something they're going to have to get used to very quickly.
3 wide at Indy should be fun, as the pace car is coming into the pit lane. And Ron Doherty will lead us away here, heading up the famous Road America Hill as we go racing for the second race here in the IndyCar Series. Look at Peter McCann already, has those tyres fired up, dives for the pit wall, 3 abreast in towards the first corner. McCann is looking for second place here, has Doyle and McClements, no, backs out. Peterson up for it, goes long game here, and Sean McGoldrick might be hot on his heels right behind. Look at Johnny Reid all over the Pennzoil rear wing of Sean McGoldrick in towards the right hand there. Great race start from Ronan Doherty. 6/10 of the better in front.
Yeah, again, not a huge amount of movers and shakers. Sean McClements up 3 places though. You're looking at him alongside Andrew Murphy. Ken Doyle up 1 place, but relatively straightforward apart from those incidents. In the formation lap, as Peter McCann goes a little bit on the inside, I'm not sure whether there was a touch there or whether he just got things wrong. We see a puff of smoke in the background as well. Jordan Kelly already up 2 places. He has the long way down to make. David Ward down 2 places, unfortunately, in the 69 car. So going down certainly seems to be a theme of that car this evening. Oh, that's the 412 going off in the background. That's Johnny Reid going off into the gravel now. He tumbles down the standings in the red and white Johnny Reid Media sponsored machine. I should have known what that was when I saw the word media. Ken Doyle in P3 though, great start for him. Peter almost had the jump from him at the beginning, but he had to hold off at him.
Yep, almost had the jump, and Peter, Ken Doyle runs very wide. Peter will still have the best tyres for another couple of laps. We saw the alternates fairly strong in the first heat, so he will still have the quicker tyres until maybe about halfway through this one, but Doherty and McClements are away at the front. Push to pass will be active on this lap, so we should get a little bit more overtaking. As you can see, Peter McCann on the heels of Ken Doyle. Beautiful livery for Ken, green, white and orange, as we love to see here in Ireland's Premier Sim Racing Series. There's 2, 3, 4 wides almost behind. This is Johnny Reid and David Ward, two of the newcomers here in RTA, side by side, as Emma Dempsey looking to get involved as well. Emma actually got to the race start this time round, which is great news. And it is going to be battling soon, no, not soon enough with Jamal Gandor. That's not Jamal right behind her. Jamal in the pit lane.
Yeah, Jamal sacked it off when he got the front wing taken off in the opening start. That's David getting very close to, I think, Phil Upson. They're going side by side down into turn number 5. Oh, and that laid on the brakes behind him was Dara Halley, who almost careered into the back of I'm going to butcher his name, David Drugo Ketski in the 183. No, I was going to say the 183 car, but that's what he has left in the push to pass. This push to pass is very confusing because I'm looking for car numbers and they're not appearing on my overlay. Oh, that's
Finley.
Number 3. That's not a very big number. That's Finley, gone into the barriers at the carousel, getting it all kinds of wrong there.
Yeah, Finley Melvin with a totally crumbled front right corner. Not great there as Peter McCann now looks for the move on Ken Doyle. And is there almost contact between the two? I'm not sure if there was contact, but Ken Doyle is certainly taking a trip to Road America's Beaches. Oh, that's Sean McClements who's gone airborne. Not the first time that sentence has been said, but he's gone up in the air, and that is the front left corner crumbled on his as someone else has gone off. Yep, this is the IndyCar we know and love.
That's the way it is though with IndyCars. One accident sparks another, especially when it's so tight. And that was sparked by the man you see on your picture right now being overtaken by Brandon McGahan, the 21 car, Peter McCann. The door was opened by Ken Doyle. I think it's fair to say it was pretty wide for McCann to go through. Whether there was a touch between them, that will be for the stewards to ultimately determine. We might have an opportunity to look back at it over the next 12 minutes or so as Emma Dempsey goes slightly wide in her battle with Tony Stack, but certainly the door was open as she dives down the inside. Emma Fearless, the number 11 car. That is a great move from the EDR Motorsports number 11. Emma Dempsey slipping down the inside and into 8th position. And I tell you, Evan, she had a very disappointing race 1, but she is making up for it in this race 2.
Yeah, of course, IndyCar with a great history of women succeeding in the championship. Catherine Legg, Simona Di Silvestro and Emma Dempsey is performing well over the rear wing of Ken Doyle, who was just struggling on the exit of that corner after running wide, and that unfortunately hampered the 22. Ken then spun in the following corner, and Sean had to take avoiding action. Very disappointing start to race number 2 for those two guys. In terms of your movers and shakers, Dara Halley, the biggest of the bunch, up 12 positions to 13th. Connor Melia and Jordan Kelly both slowly not making progress. He's actually down 4 to 21st, so he's been caught up in something. Connor Melia has made progress. He's up 4 to 12. Here comes Peter McCann, looking to make a move on Brandon McConnell. Last time these two went side by side, last time Peter went side by side to this corner, and ended up in absolute disaster, but this time round it doesn't. Peter just backs out. He's managing his tyres, managing his race car, and doing a good job of it.
And given we're in the state of Wisconsin, Evan, it was rather remiss that you forgot one of IndyCar's most famous female drivers.
No, that was on purpose.
Danica Patrick.
Yeah, that was on purpose.
Felt like her name needed to be mentioned for just for comedy's sake as much as anything else. Of course, Montreal not being a technical circuit in her eyes. Speaking of the Dempseys, speaking of the Dempseys, we actually have two. Normally we see the McClements side by side in the top 10. This time we see the Dempseys side by side as Danny is ahead of Emma. Evan, you are better to know the relationship between these two, but my cousins...
I don't think there is one, to be brutally honest.
Oh.
I don't actually think there is one. As Danny Dempsey, son of Keith Dempsey, who we all know around RTA and of course involved in the Turn 3 Motorsport programme, as is Ollie Meredith, both young characters for that team, and I tell you what, both flying, especially Ollie with a fantastic win in Kiltorgan a few weeks ago. He's now behind Emma Dempsey, and I tell you what, they're both flying in this race as well. Emma up 9 spots, Danny up 6. They could just keep it on the asphalt, and as we say that, Emma Dempsey runs a little bit wide, and now they're all going left, right around Emma, and I believe Andrew Murphy has got a spot. Yes, he has, but Emma has recovered and will still be in 8th position. Has burned a lot of that push to pass. Second lowest in the field. Gary Corcoran lowest in the field. with 51, I believe it's all there, 46 now, so he's burning through it. Got to be careful with that. You have to keep your car racy towards the pointy end of the race.
Yeah, I mean, 300 seconds, I'm right in saying that they get given at the beginning of the race. So the fact
200.
that 200, sorry, my apologies. The fact that Gary is down to 34 with only 7 minutes on the clock, we are around about halfway through, give or take 20 seconds or so. So you should be in and around that 100 mark if you're trying to get to the end to do it perfectly. You look at the likes of Ronan, he's still pretty much on 200, as are a lot of the top runners. Emma, she is a real outlier in that, so she's going to have to work exceptionally hard to try and hold on to her position as Andrew Murphy takes another place. So both Dempsey's dispatched of now by Murphy, and he is looking for a top 5 finish.
Yeah, Andrew Murphy running very strong. Can't remember the last time he finished top 5 in an RTA race. Andrew will be looking to jump up, maybe even in a podium place come the reverse race. We won't say anything too loud just yet, but there's the possibility of it. Currently Ronan Doherty, your race leader, Dylan McClemens in second, then it is Brandon McCaughan, Peter McCann, Sean McGoldrick, Andrew Murphy. This is now David, Johnny Reid, Conor Melia, Dara Halley, all involved in a little battle here. Conor Melia diving down the inside of our new Polish friend, and Dara Halley is going to look to get involved in this one as well. Is he going to try the switchback? No, can't quite get it done. Maybe a dive in towards the left-hander. No, just a little bit too far back. So Dara's going to try hold on for the carousel as there goes Emma Dempsey and Gary Corcoran, both off the circuit. Gary Corcoran's got the position on Emma, but they've both lost 3 or 4 places in that one. Gary Corcoran down to 0 on the push to pass with just under half the race to go. Very low on that front, and a bit of an incident between the two.
I think that was Johnny Reid.
Johnny Reid.
Actually, it was Johnny getting involved with Emma there. So Johnny, he's been absolutely flying in the opening race, but more mistakes. And again, Emma going off track. She'll be kicking herself because she was up a huge amount of places at one point, and now Emma just up 3 places from where she started in P15. Dylan McClemens is Brandon McCann on the back of him, or yeah, it is Dylan McClemens with Brandon. No, it can't be. Yes. Oh no, the interval timing is all wrong. Brandon McCann looks on our overlay that he's way behind Dylan McClemens.
That looks like Finlay Melvin, not Brandon McCann.
It does look like Finlay Melvin, so that's probably lap traffic, I would imagine. Yeah. So get a confirmation on that. You were talking about David earlier, Speed Eagle getting swooped upon. There was a joke there, moment passed. I still made the joke. Anyway, we move on. Here is David in the 44 machine, and David is a multiple touring car championship winner, if my googling is correct. Oh, making contact! Oh, that's going to cause more issues. Tony Stack being catapulted into Dara Halley. Oh, it's just earlier on the brakes. David clips the back, and without a rear wing and with the lockup, Dara's nose has gotten a little bit out of shape, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, David has clipped his prey, and that is disappointing for Dara Halley. There's no front end on that car whatsoever, even for an oval setup. That is scandalous, and unfortunately for himself and Tony Stack, their good form in this race is unfortunately over. It does promote another couple of places for other drivers. And Danny Dempsey under pressure here from Conor Melia. I don't think Conor Melia expected to be battling with Danny Dempsey today, but that is the way the race has ran. And it's actually not for a low place either. It's for a fairly competitive place. Danny Dempsey going to try out. No, hanging around the outside. That'll be a trip straight into the concrete. And unfortunately, that's the end of that high place.
That is a very wobbly right front wheel. That Danny Dempsey's right front wheel is channeling its inner Tesco trolley, I think. Other supermarket brands are available, but that looks like something you'd pick. Yeah, it looks like, oh really? It looks like something you'd pick out and put your groceries in. Yeah, I was going to say, I was just laughing. It's terrible to laugh because obviously Dara Halley, it's very unfortunate for him in his race. He's running a great race, but it's just when his car's nose was swinging all over the place, all I could think about was the Venetian masks with the really long nose on them. I just saw the car's an embodiment of that, and it kind of gave me a tickle. Yeah, well, you're glad it went where it did, and not
sorry,
else.
just on a fun
we're
fact
checking on the
note.
961 car and its livery, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just on a fun fact note, I've got the relationship between Danny and Emma Totally wrong. Big thanks, Nikki, for correcting me on this one. Emma is Danny's aunt. I don't know where I got the idea that they weren't related.
That was my That was my initial thought, and then I was afraid of insulting Emma by calling him her Danny's aunt, so I went with cousins because I felt like that was a safer bet. Yeah, Gary Corcoran, speaking of, he wasn't involved in contact with Emma Dempsey earlier, but he certainly looked like he was interested there, because he pretty much hung it down the inside and corner where he never was going to get an opportunity. Gary not quite getting the job done there, but a man who is Drugotevsky. He is keeping Johnny Reid at bay for the moment in the 44 car, and despite everything else going around him, Johnny has just decided to go straight at a right-hand corner. No, David's held them off. I'm getting commentators cursing my ear from Ronan here, but actually, if anything, I cursed the Johnny and not David, so I'm not taking responsibility for that. But yeah, you want to get used to steering. I think Johnny just thought that we were a little bit early to IndyCar, because he decided to turn left when there was no need. Gary now ahead of Emma, and one of those things we need to keep an eye on, speaking of David in the 8th position, is that reverse grid pole. So if you haven't joined us before, the 8th position in race 2 gets pole position in race 3. So at the moment, our international contingent has that place, so it'll be interesting to see. He's going for a move now on Conor Melia, so obviously you want to take as many points as you can, but that would put Conor at the top of the standings, and Conor, I think, is quite happy for him to have it. I think Conor thinks to himself, well, that's fine, you can take your 7th place, and I'm going to take pole for the future.
Yeah, of course. Conor Melia, last race of the season in Brands Hatch, started on pole in the feature, ended up winning. So he's not going to mind that. Definitely a fantastic driver from pole, especially in a car and a circuit that he knows and loves. We haven't really looked at these two much this race, and this is the top two, Ronan Doherty and Dylan McClements. They have a lot of push to pass left. They have one more lap to go, and they're going to battle for this one. Dylan McClements wants to end this winless run. He wants to get past his cousin and his teammate Ronan Doherty in front. Not going to do it in towards turn number 1, but you can see on that go fast button, and he's looking to try and get close. His opportunity in this lap is going to come in the Canada corner.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to come from that run, absolutely, as you say, as we pass down underneath the Sargento Cheese Bridge again. And I realise why our overlords here at RTA have decided to begin with Road America, and indeed with the state of Wisconsin, because the good people of Wisconsin and the good people of Ireland share an awful lot as we look at the front two battling here. Please do interrupt me if anything interesting happens. Not that it's been happening between these two for the last 15 minutes or so. But Milwaukee is known as America's Dairyland, particularly famous for its cheese. It's well known for its beer. It has some of the nations. Oh, that's Tony Stack going off again in the distance. It's famous for its permissive alcohol laws and is known for its drinking culture and tourism. So a lot of parallels to be drawn between the state of Wisconsin and our own nation state here in Ireland.
Definitely. As top two separated by 0.3 of a second here in the last lap, but this battle very close for 8th position. This is for the reverse pole, as Conor Melia all the way up to 6th, so there has been problems elsewhere as they've got through Canada corner in the kink, and no opportunity has arisen for Dylan McClements. So it's going to be 2 from 2 for Ronan Doherty, who rounds through the final corner, and he's going to take the second heat win here. Unless Dylan McClements is able to push him all the way to the line, he isn't. Ronan Doherty will take the second heat win here in Wisconsin. Dylan McClements in second, Brandon McCaughan in third, as side by side these two still for the reverse pole. Johnny Reid all over the curb, all over the grass, and he still got the move done. What a piece of skill from Johnny Reid, as I thought he just disconnected. Still on the inside here. David Glukacecki's going to try and make the move stick. No, has a wobble on the exit of that corner. It looks like Johnny Reid is going to become an RTA front rower upon debut with the reverse top 8 that we have for heat number 3. Great little battle between those two, using every ounce of track and everything they had.
Yeah, you can't deny the 412 car. That 8th position, given the bravery, it was. I mean, look, it's a thin line between bravery and stupidity. As David almost gets caught up and collected at the end there, but It's a very thin line between bravery and stupidity, and another half a tyre, I suspect, dipped on that grass. And that could have been curtains for Johnny Reid, but as it turned out, he managed to keep the loud pedal pinned and managed to take that eighth position. So fair play to him. He will be our reverse grid leader for this final 15-minute race. And we're 2/3 of the way through now. And I think we'll have an opportunity to speak to some of our podium setters thus far this evening.
Yes, hopefully we do, but we'll run you through our full confirmed results first. And of course, it is Ronan Doherty who is your race winner. Had Dylan McClemens in second. Then it's Brandon McCaughan, Sean McGoldrick, Peter McCann, Conor Melia, Andrew Murphy, Johnny Reid, Gary Corcoran, Jordan Kelly, Emma Dempsey, Ollie Meredith, Jamal Gandor, Simon Hutchings, Brian McCarthy, David Ward, Sean McClemens, Ken Doyle, David Lukaceki, or however we've been saying it, Finley Melvin then in 20th position. Then in 21st, Tony Stack, 22nd, Phil Upson, 23rd, Dermot Toomey, 24th, Dara Halley, and then it was Danny Dempsey and David Prunty. Let's hear from your race winner in heat number 1 and heat number 2, Ronan Doherty. Ronan, welcome to another season of RTA. Welcome back to the interview room. And that's 2 wins on the board for you very early on.
Yeah, it's a great start, really. It's just a shame I got off track on my last lap for pole. It was a rapid lap and I got a tiny off track, so that would have been perfect start. But yeah, great start.
In terms of this car, yourself and Dylan have both gelled with it very well, miles in front of the field. Talk to us where this pace has come from.
To be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, the pace is actually, I mean, in terms of practice, it was all very, very close. Like you were talking maybe 10 drivers within 4 or 5 tenths, but I think when a bit more of the understanding comes into it, when your tires are going off, and how you should adapt your driving style, and saving your push to pass, and all these things come into their own in a race too. So yeah, I think that's probably just where me and Dylan got the edge, and Dylan drove really well, just hanging in my slipstream the whole time. I couldn't break the toe on him. So yeah, I think that's just kind of how we got away.
Heat 3 then, I know we usually always talk about this, but this is going to be very different compared to how it was last season. Of course, we were in touring cars where rubbing is racing. We're now back to very fast single-seaters. What's your approach coming into this one, starting 8th?
Yeah, just try and not have any major slides on the tires and cook them too early, and hopefully the race will come to me. I think it's because of the tires and stuff, and I think some people are struggling with managing them. You maybe don't have to be as aggressive as you do in a lot of more of the sprint series that we usually run. So yeah, it'll be interesting, and I'll just have to do my best.
Ronan, thank you very much for joining us. All going well. We'll chat to you again later.
Cheers.
And now second place with Kevin Dylan McClemens.
Dylan, joining us again in the commentary booth, a place you're very familiar with at this point. No race win, but 2 second places. It's just about trying to set as best a foundation for the rest of the season now, isn't it?
I mean, compared to the TCRs, 2 podiums start the season isn't bad, especially second, and we're looking our eyes on the win, possibly this last race, but we'll try to see what happens.
Well, the last race is in race 2. For us was boring, but for you, boring means good because it means that you're out of trouble. Yourself and Ronan seem to be getting to grips very early on. Have you had much IndyCar experience before this?
Well, not really. I've only bought it at the end of the TCR thing season, but there's a couple of iRacing specials last week in the 15th, 13th week, so I done, but apart from that, no.
And how are you finding managing the push to pass?
Well, usually I've been doing my running is I've been saving the push to pass to the last couple laps, because if you're first, I think Ronan's been doing this as well. If you're first with no push to pass the last 2 laps, you'll get an up in the straights. So yeah, we'll probably experiment a lot more, but it's going well so far.
Brilliant, Dylan. Look, 2 second place finishes. A great start for you. Congratulations. Talk to you soon.
All right, see you.
And finally, I think, Evan, you'll have a chat with Brandon McCaughan.
Yeah, Brandon, welcome back to the interview room. First question I have is, where did you find that livery? That is an absolute cracker.
Cracker, isn't it? Yeah, I remember watching. I used to sit with me and watch the thing called the Red 5, like the documentary about Mansell going over and winning the IndyCar in his first year. So went looking for that one.
In terms of your short IndyCar career, how are you finding the car out there?
Grand, yes. I'm not really used to big single seaters. Like it's F4 is as big as I would have raced in iRacing usually. So it was quite handy that we had last week to practice as well as this week, and then get on to RA. I don't have the pace maybe like Ronan and Dylan, but happy enough with where I'm at. I was quite happy with third there. Me and Sean seem to be good and close.
Well, Brandon, we're going to let you go get ready for heat number 3 and hopefully chat to you again later.
Good man, cheers.
So great to speak to the top 3 there, and I have to say, Kevin, they're all very much positive about this championship so far.
Yeah, I mean, look, I suppose the TCRs was a controversial choice. It's a car that doesn't suit a lot of drivers. There's probably a reason why somebody as as poor as a driver as I am enjoys racing them, because maybe they don't require the same amount of finesse. But these Indy cars are much more up these guys' street. You're talking single seater, high aero. Look, it's just a bigger and beefier and more aero and more advanced Formula V, basically. So for these guys, it's very, very like the mechanics of how you drive them. Obviously, the higher aero, but in terms of single seater, all that kind of stuff, it's similar. So it's easier for these guys to get their grip on it. Basically, is what I'm trying to tell you. So yeah, I can understand why they're more positive about it. I'm really looking forward to hearing what they have to say about the ovals. I'm particularly looking forward to the practice session on the Monday ahead of the ovals, and what's being said at that. But for the moment, we have a final race that sees a championship newcomer at the front of the pack. And joined by Andrew Murphy and Conor Melia, Conor is going to have some serious designs on a first place finish in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. He wants to win here in Road America, that is for sure. He loves this track. He speaks so highly of it, even more so than the local Wisconsin natives who race around here. He'll want to win. Johnny Reid on the pole, Andrew Murphy second, then it is Conor Melia, Peter McCann, Brandon McCaughan, Dylan McClemens, Peter McCann, Sean McGoldrick, Brandon McCaughan, Dylan McClemens, Ronan Doherty, Gary Corcoran, Jordan Kelly, your top 10. Then it is Emma Dempsey, Ollie Meredith, Jamal Gandor, Simon Hutchings, Brian McCarthy, David Ward, Sean McClemens, Ken Doyle. Then it is David Lugo Jecki, Finley Melvin, Tony Stack, Phil Upson, Dermot Toomey, Dara Halley rounding out, and then we have Danny Dempsey and David Prunty rounding out the top 26. In terms of name pronunciations, Kevin, and Wisconsin, I have a little game we could play in the formation lap if we have ran out of things to talk about.
Okay, go ahead. I've already run out of things to talk about because I want to play your game.
This very much depends on, do you follow basketball in any stretch of the imagination?
Not really, but yes.
Do you know who the best player to ever play in Wisconsin is? Greek player?
Milwaukee. We played at the Milwaukee Bucks.
If you have access to the Gantry chat, I can send you the name, and I want to see your best effort at pronouncing it.
Okay. I feel like I should know this guy, because I do watch small. Oh yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, no, that's kind of spoiled the game because the whole point of the game was that. Yeah, close enough.
Wait,
No, not close enough. It's right, but
what did they spoil it with?
that you got it right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you spoiled it by being right. Yeah.
But everyone just knew him as Giannis, right? Like nobody actually ever like his name in NBA. Was
Yeah,
just...
Giannis, the Greek freak. No
That's
one
the
really.
Greek freak.
Yeah, no, that's his actual nickname, the Greek freak.
Amazing. Couldn't make that joke about Yao Ming. See, be considered racist, but you can do it about a Greek person. That's the way it goes now.
I was I was in the Wax Museum in New York. Yao Ming is tall, very tall.
He's huge.
He's
He's
massive.
a mountain of a man.
There's a photo of me and Yao Ming that I'm glad Ronan Hederman doesn't have his hands on at this very point because it would have made for good viewing.
Yeah, Ronan's gonna hack into your server. He knows how to do these things because he works in IT.
I said next week, like the context is gone. Why is there a photo of everything Yao Ming? We might put this with it.
We don't even have a race in Houston, and we're still going to feature you with a picture of you and Yao Ming.
Maybe I've given Ronan a lot of content recently, but you know, let's see.
We'll share what's been going up in the group chat recently. Yeah, speaking of, since we're talking absolute nonsense, let's bring it back to tonight. And I just want to say, like, I commend. I mean, I'm going to put the commentator's curse on it now, and I'm slightly doing this for the lols and for the potential drama. But race starts in both race 1 and race 2 have been exceptionally clean, given we're in a new championship and we're at a narrow track. So, yeah, I just thought I'd throw that in there. Not on the sly at all. I'm definitely not hoping for carnage on the last race. But, you know, it's just, I've been very impressed. I have to say, I've been very impressed. Although there have been some incidents logged. Sean McClements and David in the race 1 in the first corner. David again getting reported for race 2, lap 6, turn 4. And then David Ward in on Emma Dempsey, race 2, lap 2, turn 6. And on Dara Halley, race 2, lap 2, turn 12. So race 2 and lap 2 is not good as we get going for the final time.
Yes, Johnny Reid leads us up the hill as we go racing for the final time in Road America. Good start from Andrew Murphy, immediately into the slipstream of Reid in front. Peter McCann also has the tow. Conor Mealy has been left out and hung out to dry a little bit. Into the first corner, they weave their way through, and Johnny Reid still leads, taking the sweeping outside line. Conor Mealy in third, and it's Peter McCann in fourth, has that outside line heading in towards turn number 3. McGoldrick, McCaughan, side by side, and Brandon McCaughan looks to hang it round. Very close indeed as we head down towards the moraine sweep of turn number 5. Brandon McCaughan just can't find a way past here, it seems. Looking left, looking right, almost opting for the grass, but Peter McCann has boxed him in. Now the dive from McCaughan doesn't quite find it. He's rolling dirty on his outside. It is all clean on the race start.
Yeah, despite my best
no,
efforts. Oh no, there's a big crash.
no,
Oh, that's a huge accident.
Oh no, it isn't.
Oh, that's a huge accident. You put the kibosh in that one, Evan, not me. Sean McGoldrick. Oh, there's another big swoop. That's David Ward in the background, swinging left and right, but avoiding contact. Sean McGoldrick caught up in that. Emma Dempsey definitely. No, not Emma Dempsey. Dylan McClements caught up in that. Oh, that's a disaster for McClements after such a good start. We'll have a look at that. But once the first one went off, it just had accordion effect, and it happened in a terrible part of the racetrack as well. In that turn number, can't get my turn numbers right. Turn number 6, that one that comes up and over the top of the hill, because it's totally blind as you come up that hill, so you don't realise that there's issues there. And Jordan Kelly, real night to forget for Jordan. He's also been caught up in that and sporting one half of a wing.
Yeah, Jordan Kelly's not had a good evening. One of his worst in RTA potentially, and it's not really due to his own fault. Johnny Reid, 1 second lead. Conor Mealy now attacking Murphy for second. Conor's got the clean start that he needed. He can work with this and hunt down the videographer in front. Conor Mealy is into second place now. Andrew Murphy in third, just runs a little bit wide. Might come under pressure from Peter McCann behind in fourth. I have to say, Peter's pace this evening has been pretty good as well. Brandon McCaughan losing the spot to Gary Corcoran. And look at Emma Dempsey up to 7th again. Brian McCarthy up 7 spots. Sean McClements up 8th. There's been a lot of beneficiaries of that opening lap chaos.
Dempsey's a real opportunity now, because I feel like she would have felt she threw a wing the opportunity she had in the last race. This now she wants to get her head down and clench her teeth and get through it, because she needs to make up for that disappointment, and she's already made up a mistake from Brandon McGahan in that one, and everyone looks a little bit loose here, Evan. There's mistakes creeping in here. I wonder, is there a little bit of fatigue going on?
A little bit of fatigue, maybe more fuel, and maybe struggling to get the tyres up to temperature, as Ollie Meritus missing his front nose again by the looks of things. And that is disappointing for young Ollie, whose pace has been fantastic tonight in the IndyCar. Brian McCarthy getting the spot, and Emma Dempsey following through as well. Brandon McCaughan is certainly struggling without that downforce. And there is a lot of debris spread around the track. Oh, Brandon McCaughan keeping it almost pinned through the kink with no front nose is no easy feat. Another factor could be a few of these guys haven't ran this primary tyre yet, which is definitely heavier on the first few laps, harder to get it to temperature. That could be an effect, but 3.5 minutes in, Johnny Reid still in the lead.
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned there, there's a lot of factors going on here. That the weight is being piled on because of the fuel. Different tyres, of course, as well as Brandon McGahan goes into the pits, and that's a very disappointing end to his opening round. Thanks again, a big shout out, a particular shout out from me from one of our commenters this evening, Adam Dowling, who very smart, nippy, and slightly dangerously ball-tired Renault Clio gave me a good run for my money last week when I was down at the track day at Mondello. It was great to see some of the old faces, Laura Harmon and Ronan himself, and of course the likes of Adam, who was very graciously agreed to take me out in his Clio. Which you know it's a race car when it doesn't have a door handle, but instead just a flap of material that you just pull it closed. I really felt, I felt it made me feel strangely comfortable. I have to say, being in a car that wasn't like a road car, it's like made me feel like I was actually in a car that was meant for this. And Adam has years of experience and showed every single minute of it when we went over the crest there at the back side of Mondello, and the back end stepped out because the tyres were half-balled, and he still managed to not only collect it but pretty much fire it through and hit the apex all the same. So a big shout out to Adam. Very, very fun experience. Evan had taken me out before, but I haven't been out with Adam, so yeah, more of that please, as that is a big mistake from Andrew Murphy in the background. He just went off perpendicular to the track. I'm not sure what happened there. I just saw him fly off at a right angle to where he should have been going. Let's have a quick look at that on our gantry replay.
Let's have a look at this one. What happened to Andrew Murphy? He was battling here with Peter McCann, the two admins having a battle, both who said they would be stepping down almost from their admin roles, but still found time to race in the IndyCar Championship. Interesting. That's what happened to him. That is a very weird mistake. That is a very, very weird mistake for Andrew Murphy. Quite a peculiar
bizarre
one.
Yeah, very bizarre. It'd be interesting to see the onboard of that. Whether it looked like almost his wheel failed.
Yeah,
Just got shot to the right, but that's very strange. Some lap traffic there in the shape of Ken Doyle. Let's have a look at the onboard here with Andrew Murphy. Oh, this is very much an onboard. This is more onboard than you get in the real IndyCar, folks. But let's have a look at this. He goes left, and then he just loses.
He did lose the
back end. Just loses the back end over the crest, and then tries to collect it and makes things a whole lot worse for himself. So, fortunately for Andrew, driver error on that one, and that is the end of his evening. So, plenty of time now for him to do some admin work for the next 14 minutes while we wait for the rest of these guys to finish the race. Especially given his partner in crime, Peter McCann, is in third position. It's been conversely a bad night for some drivers, but a spectacular night thus far for Peter McCann.
Fantastic night for Peter McCann, who is in third, has a lot of push to pass to use, and is 4.7 seconds ahead of Gary Corcoran in fourth. So, great opportunity this for Peter to take potentially a second. Who is in third, has a lot of seconds ahead of Gary Corcoran, and Peter to take potentially a second.
Yeah, it would be a huge result for him. We're just having an issue with our picture that we just got back
Could
there
take
now,
it.
as Sean McClements is involved in a battle with Ronan Doherty, and you would have expected, Evan, these guys to be further towards the front after this amount of time, but unfortunately they had that instant in the middle really kind of put paid to a lot of drivers, just held them up an awful lot, as Brian McCarthy almost gets run into by Gary Corcoran in fifth position. He's used a lot of push to pass Gary, but he's in the top 5, and for the 24 car, that's not something we were expecting to see this evening.
Yeah, Gary a bit trigger happy on the push to pass button, it seems, especially in Heat 2 and now again in Heat number 3. Sean McClements and Ronan Doherty don't think they expect to be battling Danny Dempsey this evening, and that is both a testament to how well Danny has driven and how poorly maybe Ronan's race has gone here in Heat number 3, and how poorly Sean's evening has gone, being caught up in incidents in Heat number 1 and in Heat number 2. But Danny has been really good, and in what is a very difficult car is the Dallara IR18. No power steering, of course, quite a nippy car, as it can get up to 700 brake once we get to the ovals. Danny and Ollie both performing very well indeed, and you can see the dirty air being chucked over Sean McClements' front wing as they head through the carousel. He will have the run through the kink and down towards the Canada corner. This should be fairly straightforward. Pulls to the right hand side, left the inside line. Danny Dempsey gives him the squeeze. Luckily, there was a bit of curb there for Sean McClemens to run over, so he doesn't get too much dirt on his tyres. Last of the late breakers from the Antrim man, and he is ahead.
Just about there. I thought there might have been a coming together, but he does sneak in all the same. And yeah, great drive from Danny Dempsey thus far, but it's always going to be very difficult for him. As we see, finally, it's only taken us almost an hour and a half, but a battle for the race lead. Johnny Reid and Conor Amelia starting to come together. Amelia is putting a bit of pressure on Reid. He has a little bit less push to pass. He's not going to use it here, so we should be fairly even at the end of this one. But Conor isn't losing out a huge amount of time, as Johnny went a little bit squirrely on the exit there. He's just using the push to pass, try and keep that time advantage. But within 6/10 now, we're talking about slipstream range and plenty of time still for Conor in the 56 machine to make a pass. So he's not under any real pressure, Conor Amelia. I think really you just kind of want to hang in the mirrors of Johnny, and hopefully that you'd hope that potentially he can make a mistake. But in fairness to Johnny in the 412 car, starting on pole, reverse pole on his debut, to still be in first position, it has been a mammoth effort.
Had a helping hand, of course, with those incidents, but still doing a cracking job is Johnny Reid, as Conor Amelia flying through the kink now. Doesn't seem to be going to be able to get past here. As can we go back onto Conor's onboard for a second, the one that we were with a few seconds ago, if possible, Mr. Ronan Hederman. The other one, if we can, I think it's the roll hoop one. I'm more nitpicking here. So Conor in the past has been very critical about Irish flags that look like Ivory Coast flags on their helmet and livery. Do we spot an issue at the top of that aero screen?
I think Conor's thinking about people looking at him in his mirror. I think Conor's just conscious that he wants things to be the right way around for people looking in a mirrored image. So that's why he's decided to place the flag in that way.
Can we go on board with Johnny Reid and look back? Oh, look, you can't see the flag.
Well, maybe he's going for the Ivory Coast.
Could be. Actually, good point. He could be representing his relations in the Ivory Coast, maybe. I'm not too clued up on the Amelia family history, so you never know.
I don't know what kind of relations that man has had in the Ivory Coast, but I think that's probably better.
Cousins and aunts and uncles, Kevin.
Sean McGoldrick,
Get the head out of the gutter.
On the back of Brandon McGahan, and these two guys you would expect to see battling for the likes of 4th and 5th place, not for 17th. But that's the way this race has gone. Excuse me. Like, look at the top 5: Johnny Reid, Conor Amelia, Peter McCann, Brian McCarthy, Gary Corcoran. Of those 5, Conor is the only one really that has been in and around the top spots over the last while. So like it's great to see how many, not new names, but how many names up the front we're seeing kind of unexpectedly in this final race.
Yeah, I think I said it at the top of the stream. I can't remember if I did or not, but I've definitely said it to some RTA drivers that we could well get a surprise winner this season. A fairly surprised top 5 in the season opener was wild. I thought we'd have to wait until the ovals, but this has been fairly spectacular. And Johnny Reid is doing an excellent job of staying in front of Conor Amelia here. He's managing his push to pass. He's managing his car, it seems. This is the closest Conor has been. You'd still fancy Conor to take it here, especially knowing his love affair with Road America. You would expect him to overtake Johnny Reid, but this is racing and anything can happen. And if it the old quote from Murray Walker is, if anything can happen in Formula 1, it usually does. If it can happen in Formula 1, it can definitely happen here in RTA.
Yeah, absolutely. You almost butchered that, Evan, but just pulled it out of the last minute there, in fairness to you. This is an interesting one because you say you would obviously back Conor. He understands his track exceptionally well. I wonder whether he is maybe saving himself a little bit. Is he potentially trying to save tyres? Will we start to see a burst of speed, or is this Conor at 100%? And you can't go any faster, as Gary Corcoran makes a mistake now. He's down to 8th position, which allows Simon Hutchings, our B Championship winner, into 5th. Let's have a look at how that played out for Gary in the number 24 car. He's coming down the hill, and I suspect he will carry on straight here. he makes the corner down the inside and then goes wide, and then big slam in, and that's the rear left tire dislodged from the car, and that looks like iRacing physics very much at play, because Gary's rear left was definitely dislocated from the car it was originally attached to, and it seems to be some way glued on, but I'm not really sure what force of gravity is keeping that attached, but it is still on nonetheless. Thanks to one of the great things we have in Gantry TV is that we get to have the drivers joining us in chat. So thanks to both Jamal Gondor and Ali Meredith for getting involved and going back over an earlier incident that involved both of the cars. And Jamal says, total misjudgment, totally on me, so sorry Ali Meredith. Welcome to RTA, by the way, which I just don't think you get that in Formula 1, to be honest. But Ali is very kindly saying it's okay. Well, look, Ali has bigger fish to fry and has certainly turned up the grill on that in the course of the beginning of this season. So Ollie's on a great path in the karting world, and no doubt we'll be back next week and indeed for the next 7 weeks to join us for the rest of this season. But we're looking at the two guys at the front now. Less than 5 minutes left. What's the play here for Conor Mania?
Well, it's going to be very difficult in terms of how consistent the whole field are, or how close they are together. Ronan already mentioned it in the interview that there was a 10 separating a load in practice. Not this lap, or not the last lap, sorry, the lap before. So Conor Melia's actually going to go for the move here, and down the inside goes Conor Melia's. Johnny Reid going to be able to hold around the outside. No, he's not. It's a difficult move as Conor Melia is ahead now and into the race lead. And Ronan America, or is he? Goal contact made between the two. Round goes Johnny Reid. He's kept it out of the concrete crucially. Can he recover? Oh, very close to Peter McCann. He has recovered. He's still... No, he's lost. He's fallen off the podium. He's behind Brian McCarthy. Controversial here, and one that will be looked at by the stewards. Conor Melia is in front.
Yeah, Melia robustly went down the inside, but that opened the door then for the switchback move. And Reid did... Like, he's entitled to that space in the inside. He did go wide, but Conor having his exit compromised, and he kind of swept around, and like... In fairness to Johnny Reid, his probably a racing incident. I'd really have to see where those cars are at track. I don't want to be too racy about it now because we do have a broadcast to have a look at. But let's have a look at Johnny's left front tire. So he's in as much as he can, and he does get washed out slightly. But like, it's hard to know what more Johnny could do there. But I think it's very hard to penalise Conor Melia. He was ahead there. In fairness to Johnny, other drivers, other more experienced drivers, as we saw in Le Mans this weekend, would have continued that rejoin, as desperate as they were to try not to lose the podium position. But to Johnny's immense credit, he held on to brakes and allowed Peter McCann to pass, because he would have cleaned out Peter and that would have ended his race as well. So to Johnny's credit, as a debut driver, I know it's not his first time in the sim, but as a debut RTA driver, and to have that happen to you, to have the presence of mind to make sure that you don't do that to somebody else, that's exceptionally commendable for the 412 car, and really I think a very unfair way to end what has been a superb race for Johnny Reid.
If the stewards judge that one by IndyCar regulation, it will be racing incident, I think, because the penalties for IndyCar usually come for unavoidable contact. I'm not too sure that was unavoidable. 2 and 1 doesn't usually go there, but they have the expert opinion. They will judge that afterwards, and of course you can keep up to date on who gets handed out penalties on rtavirtualmotorsport.com. But we have 2 minutes to go in this one, 2 more laps possibly. Conor Melia is under a lot of pressure from Peter McCann here, meaning a mistake has come somewhere. Unless Peter... No, sure, Peter has a lot more push to pass here. Conor has damage from that incident. Conor Melia definitely has damage, and Peter McCann pulls out of the slipstream to take the race lead here in the IndyCar Championship. I would take a good guess in saying Peter did not expect to find himself in this position with a lap and a half to go.
No, absolutely not. That's the way it goes. You have to stick with it and hope that other things happen. And look, Brian McCarthy in 3rd place. Like, as I said, this feature race is a bit... Oh, that's a big slide from Dylan McClemens, but we're so used to talking about the same names and in fairness to them, to the likes of Ronan and Dylan and those likes, it's because they're so quick, but it's so refreshing to see the likes of Brian McCarthy, Johnny Reid to be up and around the top echelons. Now, Sean McClements and Ronan Doherty are 5th and 6th, but Peter McCann is somebody who's won a few races. Like, Peter does very clearly have great pace, maybe not quite the razor sharp pace that we see from some of the other drivers occupying the top steps of the podium. But Peter is a seriously savage racer. He plays it down with his bit of crack, and he doesn't take himself too seriously, which is the right way to be. But Peter is a rapid racer once he gets going, and vastly experienced, so it's going to be exceptionally difficult for anybody to catch him at this point, unless he makes a big mistake, which, without putting him the kibosh on him, like, Peter's so experienced at this point. He knows the interval, he knows Conor Melia has damage. He can just cruise around in 4th gear at this point, and he'll still take home a very comfortable race win.
Brian McCarthy certainly close, and this is a very similar situation to what Conor Melia had in Mondello 2 weeks ago, where he lost 3rd gear in his Formula V and had to trundle home to just about survive on the podium. He got it by 0.036 ahead of Colin Blackburn. It's got to be similar with himself with Johnny Reid, although Johnny Reid is fairly walking wounded as well, so Conor might get away with one here. But Peter McCann still burning the push to pass, still pushing onwards, as is Brian McCarthy, but Brian just making sure he's getting that move done. If you had woke me up this morning and said the RTA podium in the feature race would be Peter McCann, Brian McCarthy and Conor Melia, I don't think I would have believed you.
Yeah, it's just kind of hard to believe, all right, how this race has panned out, but it just goes to show you that early accident really put the kibosh and threw the cat amongst the pigeons. And it's great. Look, this is what we want to see. We want to see great racing right up and down the field. The B Championship is there for that, but it's great to see some of these guys who would otherwise be occupied in the middle of the field having a chance to have a shot at the limelight and get their time on camera and win on camera, as well as Emma Dempsey. She's in 12th position again. Emma, she was up to 7th at one point, unfortunately slipped back down. She's down a place from where she began. She'll be disappointed with how this evening is gone. Overall, not terrible in terms of the overall positions, but some real opportunity lost here from Emma in the 11 machine.
Yes, and as Peter McCann rounds through the final corner here, who knew a Laois man or a resident of Laois and Mayo could wheel an IndyCar at Road America? Peter McCann, in unbelievable circumstances, wins ahead of Brian McCarthy. Conor Melia comes home in 3rd, 1.8 ahead of Johnny Reid. So Johnny loses out on a podium. One of the more consistent drives, Sean McClements comes home as the lead Team DDR car. That's a bit of a turn for the Bucks. And Ronan Doherty in 6th. Simon Hutchings, Tony Stack, Phil Upson, Jordan Kelly in 10th position. Definitely Jordan's worst RTA night in recent history. I just want to say fair play to David Ward as well, who's going to come home in 19th on the alternate tyre for 20 minutes, which is something even the IndyCar drivers haven't tried to do yet.
Yeah, probably not. Missing a race strategist, I think, is David Ward. He has a lot of friends in his comments, in the comments section tonight, though. Maybe some of them could jump in and maybe give him a hand with a bit of spotting and strategy for the next race. But what a superbly different feature race we've had. And I mean that not in the sort of politically correct sense of it, as Gary Corcoran. He could have had a top 5 finish, could the 24 car. What a disappointing evening for him in the end. But yeah, just fantastic to have so many different drivers. And, you know, we speak to the same guys all the time in the interview room, and it can be a bit repetitive for them, for us, for the viewer. We have 3 completely different drivers now who we're going to get an opportunity to chat to, and they are going to be buzzing through the interview room. So I'm really looking forward to speaking to them after we get the full classified results.
Yeah, Peter McCann, your race winner in Road America. Brian McCarthy in 2nd, and it is Conor Melia, Johnny Reid, Sean McClements, Ronan Doherty, Simon Hutchings, Tony Stack, Phil Upson, Jordan Kelly, Danny Dempsey, Dylan McClements, Emma Dempsey, Sean McGoldrick, Brandon McCollum, David Prunty, Dermot Toomey, Andrew Murphy, David Ward and Gary Corcoran rounding out the top 20. Then is our good old friend David Julukachecki, Ken Doyle, Dara Halley, Ollie Meredith, Jamal Gandor and Finley Melvin rounding out the order. Let's hear from your race winner then, Peter McCann. Peter, congratulations. Is it safe to say you didn't expect to win this one tonight?
Yeah, like sorry, hey lads. Yeah, the original practice session, I went top at the end, but we were messing with boost and all that crack. I knew I had pace, but I didn't think the win was there. Now I didn't pass anybody really either. It was damage between the two boys, but I was there to take it, I suppose.
In terms of the IndyCar, then you said you felt you had a bit of pace initially. How are you finding it out there? Because it is very different to what we have driven recently.
Yeah, I messed with running the softs in the middle race, and I won't do that again because they just fell away towards the end, and I didn't have the advantage. Once you're in traffic, you can't use the advantage of finding those tires. So it'll be soft, hard from now on. I think a lot of it is about just being safe in this thing because it's so quick. Like, and if you're close to a guy, any little error is going to cost you. Like Connor he couldn't even see the damage he had, but he was losing like 2 seconds a lap there straight away. So it's being clean is going to mean a lot in this championship.
Another place to be clean, of course, is ovals. So you looking forward to them?
Yeah, I don't know the strategy of ovals at all. I can't understand it. And you see the likes of Sean McGoldrick and everything come to the top in them because I just like go flat out all the time, hoping for the best. And then at the end you just get blitzed by guys that seemingly have tires somehow. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Peter, congratulations and thank you very much for joining us. All going well. We'll hear again from you a few times this season.
Yeah, hopefully. Good start. Thanks, guys.
And now in second place, speaking with Kevin, Brian McCarthy.
Brian McCarthy, a pleasure. And the first time we've spoken to you, you
That's
must
not for want
absolutely-
of trying, Evan, yeah? Or Kevin?
Well, I was just going to say, like, it's I was saying that how we speak to the same guys all the time, the Ronan, the Arties, and the McGoldricks and
All the festivals.
Well, it's great to speak to somebody who it really this podium really means something to.
I'm delighted, genuinely. No, it's great. I didn't do the touring car there last season. Took it off and came back. So I fluked it. It's normally my motto is to crash on lap 1 and go straight to the pits and rest of my race in the own. But that was good old fun there now.
To be fair to and as a lap 1 crash merchant myself, I absolutely identify. But when we do that, you tend to take the pressure off yourself, and then you can kind of enjoy a race. But you didn't really look like a guy who looked like he hadn't spent time near the front, if you know what I'm saying. You look very comfortable where you were and very consistent. How are you finding these IndyCars?
Do you know what? I only bought it the week before last, and we were meant to do round 1. It's only my second time sitting into it. So no, I really like it. Really enjoy it. I just love the grip, to be honest. It's better than driving some of those tin taps.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And you finding the tires okay? I was just talking to Peter. He was saying that he tried tires for race 2, and that was just a bit, or the softs for race 2 was just a big no-no. So
yeah, I thought the softs were going off towards the end of race 1, so I said no way for race 2. Yeah, and as Peter said, they went off, I think, 2 or 3 laps at the end of race 2 then.
Brilliant. Yeah, so look, I suppose, does this change your perspective on the season at all? Like,
Nah.
does it kind of raise your expectations? No?
Nah, turn up and see how next week goes. I've no expectations at all. It's just a bit of crack, to be honest. Yeah.
Well,
So,
look, hopefully we'll be speaking
hopefully we'll talk more, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Brian, congratulations. Second
play.
place, fantastic finish. And before you leave us, you are our Gantry TV Motorsports.ie driver of the day. So very much congratulations, because when we started race 1, I was kind of looking at all those M&Ms in the distance. I could barely see them. And by the time we got to the front, they were front and center of the camera shot. So, Brian, congratulations. A very well
fair play.
earned.
Much appreciated. Thanks, lads, and fair play. Good stream as always. I'd imagine I'll watch it later on.
Looking forward to it. Brian, congratulations. We'll speak to him hopefully again. And a man I suspect we will be speaking to again, certainly when it comes to turning left, is Conor Melia, who's joined by Evan Dalton.
Connor, congratulations on the podium, but I can't imagine it's the place on the rostrum you wanted to be.
Yeah, seems to be a bit of a trend now of me being disappointed with second and third places. Yeah, no, that was very annoying. I got wing damage, I look back at, and suspension damage. So driving the car was like driving on ice for the last 2 laps, and Peter and thing got me. I'm happy to keep the podium, obviously, and get some points after a bit of a rough race 1. But yeah, what could have been.
Was it a bit familiar to Mondello a couple of weeks ago, where you were just driving a very struggling car home in third, or am I just hitting at nothing here?
Yeah, no, it's just damage control at that point. Through the carousel, especially, the car was completely on ice. So I felt like Ronan Hederman, drifting, um, drifting the
He'd
whole way
actually
around the corner.
crash.
That's just when Ronan tries to drive normally. His mindset is actually attempting to drive.
Actually, there's a crash at the N7 every morning. Like, I imagine it's just rolling.
Yeah, I think I needed a bit of instruction to how to get it, keep it sideways properly around the carousel. But no, it's the pace is there at least. And
Um,
yeah,
Connor, in terms of this season, then you've got to still be excited for the ovals. We know you're such a big fan.
yes, absolutely. Next week, Watkins. I've went well there in officials before. I know how it works. And then Indy, I've done a couple Indy 5 iRace and Indy 500s, which should be really good fun. Daytona will be interesting. Not exactly designed for these cars, or the cars aren't designed for it, but it should be good crack. So hopefully I'll be chatting to you again. Hopefully in the P1 position the next time.
Well, hopefully a win soon for Connor. Thank you very much for joining us as always, and best of luck next week in Watkins.
Cheers, lads.
So good to hear from our podium three there. Quietest I've ever heard Peter McCann, by the way, so he's obviously in trouble for something. And Connor, still hopeful for the future.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Like, he likes these cars. There's still plenty of rounds left. It's not been a disastrous race. I mean, I suppose for Connor, it's a real disappointment because he loves this track. He knows that he's quick in this track, and it is a case of what might have been when you see what happened with himself and Jordan Kelly. Just collected in an accident that was nothing to do with him, and of course destroyed his not only race one but race two. But the fact that he finished in a podium was disappointed in race three after getting some damage, let's not forget, shows that he clearly has pace in these cars, and we still have loads of time left in the season. So even though Conor felt like he would have lost some ground, also you look at all those other guys in the feature race that lost a lot of ground, where they finished, and Conor managed a podium place. So I definitely don't see why the Lucan man can't get himself back up there as we head forward in this championship, because there are so many races left to go. And on cue, bang on cue, Ronan reminds us exactly where we're due to go. So we are in the state of Wisconsin. Next week, we go to upstate New York for Watkins Glen, the boot version. Das Boot, otherwise known as. That is our first final race in June. And then we head to America's month, the month of July, and to a race that we're massively looking forward to, the Brickyard, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, for round three, the first oval race that I've commentated on ever, I think. Never mind to say for RTA. And then we head to Daytona for the Roval, then Mid Ohio, Long Beach, Daytona Speedway, as Connor alluded to, which is certainly not really a great fit for these cars on paper, or at least technically not a good fit, but we should expect to see some carnage there. And finally, to a track that Evan, you think will be our little jewel in the crown, Barber Motorsport Park, to finish off. But quick thoughts before we wrap up this evening.
I think everyone enjoyed that. Great racing. Was fairly clean. Obviously, a couple of issues, but you always get that at round number one. My God, we were talking like the devil had just appeared after Brands Hatch last season, and it ended up being a very clean championship. Very promising. A lot of interesting factors, and a surprise winner in the first round. You can't really ask for much more than that, can you? I think Watkins Glen is going to be a totally different ball game once again, and please do join us next week, folks, because it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, we will be back next week, and we'll be heading to the state of New York. If you are looking to see what's going on in this championship, or indeed interested in taking part in some future championships, rtavirtualmotorsport.com is where to find that. And don't forget to head to motorsport.ie, the home of Irish racing, where you can find plenty of interesting articles, including a bit of a comment piece, which is unusual from Leo, to put his or in terms of his own opinion, but an interesting opinion piece on the hype and drama surrounding Alex Dunn's incident in Monaco. and maybe that sense of, us Irish love to cut people's who put their head above the parapet. So definitely head to motorsport.ie.
Great piece on
that
Oscar
one.
Mangan as well, by the way. Great piece, definitely.
I don't know if he's saying that sarcastically or not, but it's
No, I wrote it.
it's okay. Well, there you go. Maybe even if you are the person who wrote it, you could still be saying it sarcastically. Yeah, motorsport.ie is the place to find that, and indeed some of Evan's mutterings, as we say, up the top of the screen. And of course, next week, do remember we will be in Watkins Glen. It'll be 9 o'clock on a Tuesday evening. I'll be back from Holland. I may be still high. Tune in. It'll be well worth watching.
Oh.
We'll talk to you then.